Happy Mother's Day. Moms from Wyandotte First were asked 3 questions, and here are some of their answers.
Robin said something about good advice, and the best advice I could come up with didn't have anything to do with parenting. It had to do with just living. But it came from a parenting class. When my kids were pretty small, we had a parenting class at church, and it was led by Dayton Law, who was a Catholic priest, and he was becoming a family counselor. So anyway, this one day, it was a horrible day, and I lost my temper and I yelled at my kids, and I came into the meeting, the class, beating myself up because of that. And Dayton took me by the shoulders, actually, and looked me in the eye and said, "And you just discovered that you're not God," which kind of took me back. But the thing about that is, you're not God, you're human. And if you're human, you're going to make some mistakes. And the best thing about that is, after you make mistakes, you can be forgiven. And that's the advice that has helped me for all the rest of my life, really.
Okay. One piece of advice I was given about marriage was to never take advice. And I translated that to motherhood too, because every family and every child is different. So you can't really always accept advice from other people because it might not work for you.
When I was pregnant with my first child, my mother gave me a little statue of an owl, and it had a note with it that said, "Be a wise mother." So that was my advice.
The piece of advice that I was given about motherhood is that you never stop worrying about them no matter how old they get, all the way into adulthood.
So one piece of advice that was given to me to help me with motherhood was to take some time for myself. I was introduced to a program called MOPS, Mothers of Preschoolers, and it saved my life. I loved it. They took my kids away and I got adult time. It was wonderful.
So some of the best advice I ever got about being a mother came from my mother-in-law, Marge Taylor, when my second child was born, and I had a 5.5-year-old at home, and I was scurrying around trying to get things done, and she told me, "Don't worry about the floors. You're always going to have floors to mop. You're always going to have dishes to wash, but you'll never get this time back." And she was absolutely right. So that's when you get down on the floor and you play with your little ones and you run outside and be goofy with them. So that's what I did.
Well, the advice I got that I chose to ignore was wake your kids up, keep them on a schedule. I didn't believe that, and I was really glad I didn't believe it because my kids were sleepers and it was great.
Well, my mother had all kinds of advice for me on how I should take care of my babies. Very strict things like they were supposed to be bathed and changed and fed and everything by 10 o'clock in the morning, and they were supposed to spend time outside in all kinds of weather. But then I had a very nice pediatrician who told me that whatever worked well with me and our family was what I should do.
Well, I would say don't worry about the mess. There'll all be time to clean it up later.
Back in 1956, when I first became a mother, no one gave me advice. I just had to kind of learn it on my own.
Be true to yourself.
It'll all come to you eventually. You'll learn about it on your own as you're going.
Hi, I just want to talk a little bit about being a mom, which I think is the best job in the whole wide world. I've gotten lots of advice over the years. My son is 24, so I can't remember all of it, but I do remember my sister telling me, and it was so true, why are you spending all that money to take him to Gymboree and do all these fancy things? Just give him a box of Tupperware and wooden spoons and empty boxes and he'll have a blast. And I do think that was true. Sometimes the more money we spent on toys, the toys kind of got looked over, but you know, children have such great imaginations, they can play with anything. So that was one piece of advice.
Well, I learned to be a mom through my mother, who was the rock of our family and our guiding light. Taught us to believe in Jesus and the rock of our faith in our family. She taught me to be patient and loving, even though chaos is going on around the house. You just give them a hug, give them love, and everything else will go on. Thank you.
Hi, I'm not a mother, but I've been a great aunt and an aunt. And what's always been wonderful is that my brother shared his children with us, a nephew and a niece. And we had so much fun growing up with them. We took them places where when their parents were busy. And one of the best things we ever did is we took them to a cottage for 2 weeks. And one of the funniest things my nephew ever did while we were sitting there at the table, a gentleman walked by, and he was quite stout, and he had white shirts on and white shirt. And my nephew said, "There goes Boss Hogg." So if you remember that, that was from, I can't remember who it was, the Hazards, Dukes of Hazzards. But my nephew learned to love the water, and I taught him how to sail on my little sailboat at that cottage. And eventually my mother and father and my grandmother came up to this cottage, and we had some of the most wonderful times in our life. So I would say sharing their children with other people is a blessing.
What did I learn from being a mother? Well, I learned that you do the best you can during that time with what you have and the knowledge that you have. So if I knew then what I knew now, then maybe I would have made some different decisions during that time.
The lesson I learned about being a mom was the joy it gave me to have my children around and to nurture them and make sure that they were responsible adults.
I had 5 boys. It was a his, mine, ours. And all 5 boys, even though they were all raised the same, each had their own personality. And you have to have patience with each of that because they're never going to be the same.
A lesson that I learned for motherhood is always have a really good diaper bag with lots and lots of stuff in it.
I learned that it's very painful to raise strong kids and have them not need you later. That's hard, but it's as it's supposed to be. They're not yours. They have their own lives. And it's not that I don't see my kids, but when your kids grow up, that's kind of painful in the best way, I guess.
What I learned from being a mother is you have to have patience. You have to go without little sleep. You have to learn not to worry about everything because things are going to happen. But most of all, your love.
I think the biggest lesson I learned is that with a child, everything is a new experience. And as a mom, it's a new experience through them. And so we're all learning how to do things. And my lesson for me was to learn to forgive myself for the mistakes I may have made, and that we all do the best we can when we're all growing.
I think what I learned as a mom is that we really have to be flexible. We might have really grandiose plans for our children, But our children have their own lives, especially as they become young adults. And maybe some of the things that we want for our children, that's what we want. But we really have to start listening to what our children want and how they see their lives going. And we have to not be disappointed or be inflexible about that. And I think I learned that from my son, Adam. He ended up getting his bachelor's degree, but he went in one direction, and you know, he's working at Henry Ford Optimize, and he's really, really happy. But you know, I had to give up my dream that maybe he was going to be like a surgeon or the president of the United States or something like that. It just wasn't what he wanted. But he's very successful and very happy.
What was the best part of that came with being a mom? I had a boy, and that was the best part.
The best part about being a mother was the unconditional love and the hugs and kisses and them trying to make me happy and me trying to make them happy.
And the best part with being a mom is just seeing my two kids and what great friends they've become with each other, and just they support each other through thick and thin, and it's just great to see that wonderful relationship that they have.
For me was watching them discover everything and learn everything, and just all the joy of that language and a butterfly and every single thing they discovered. That was very special for me, and all the love they gave, and just the idea that you could comfort them and give someone so much love and they gave it right back instantly. That was the best.
And the best thing about being a mother, I guess it's being a grandmother and a great-grandmother and a great-great-grandmother, because you can have all the fun with them and then send them home.
And then the best part that came with being a mom is the two human beings that I now know.
And I think, again, the best part about being a mom is being able to share your life with someone, and knowing that when, you know, we pass on, hopefully our faith, our hopes, our dreams, part of our personalities will be passed on to our children, and hopefully onto their children, and a piece of us will hopefully live on. So I think that's the best part about being a mom, is sharing my life with
What was the best part that came with being a mom? To see my children as adults, being parents, being married, and seeing how well they are doing.
The thing I've gotten out of being a mom is, of course, 2 children that I love and adore, but to actually see them grow into these amazing people and these amazing adults, and just seeing how they're living their lives is just a blessing for me to see. So that's what I think Mother's Day is.
That came with being a mom, I think, was celebrating all the little victories and accomplishments along the way, as well as the big ones. So don't forget those little things that happen every day besides birthdays and other celebrations.
And the best part that came with being a mom, I think, is I have 2 older sons now, and they come over and give me hugs and love me, and I get to have all of that love all of the time from my kids, and it's wonderful.
I'm a mother of 2 adoptive kids. I'm a mother of 2 stepchildren that I call my bonus children, and I'm the mother of a dog. So I would say that love is the most important thing to have for your family. Sometimes it's tough. I learned that I could say to my children when they'd done something I didn't approve of, that I didn't like what they had done, but I still loved them. I think patience is a virtue and a goal, which I haven't always reached, but it's something that's in progress with me. And I think you find out who you are when you're a mom.
One of the very best things about having children is the joy and the pride that you can have when you watch every step of their growing up. When they're little, each accomplishment is a wonderful thing to enjoy. And you watch through all the childhood and teenage and young adult and adult ages, and it's just such a joy. You can't even imagine anything better. The other part of that is the joy and pride doesn't need to end. When you reach an old age, like we have, and your children are still there, they can give back the love and the care that you gave to them. And that's what we're enjoying now, and it's really great.
Happy Mother's Day. We love you.